If we need to be quick, then I hope you will forgive me if we speak in English. It's a strange position, an English lawyer in Milan discussing how we should steal work from London and bring it to Milan. So I hope you'll bear with me because clearly I have split loyalties here. Brexit means Brexit. You would have heard that phrase spoken by our new Prime Minister, Theresa May. Brexit means Brexit. Ma significa, in inglese non sanno che significa Brexit. Questa è la verità. They have no idea what Brexit means. The old Prime Minister, David Cameron, has just been reprimanded by the Foreign Affairs Committee for gross negligence in not permitting the Foreign and Commonwealth Office to discuss at all what Brexit means. So we're now in a position in the UK that we don't know what is going to happen. We have a number of options. We have the Norwegian option. We have the Swiss option. We have potential customs union with taking Turkey as an example. We have the World Trade Organization. These are all options, but we still don't know what we're going to end up with as our first negotiating position. Which brings us on to timing, because as we don't know what position we're going to take, Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty will not be triggered until that time. So probably at the end of this year, maybe the beginning of next year. And in this period, you would have seen what happened with the markets. Okay, they've gone up, they've gone down, but the markets like nothing worse than uncertainty. So the market now needs some direction. The British political system is not giving that direction and will not do so for another 4, maybe 5, 6 months. And then there'll be a period of negotiation for 2 years, by which time the banks, we hope, will have moved to Milan. So at the end of that, of course, we'll possibly have a second referendum, which no one has discussed yet, but it seems inconceivable that we will negotiate a new position with the European Union without putting it again to the people. So there is a theoretical chance that it could be rejected and the mess will continue. So now is the time that Milan needs to take the bull by the horns. Now is the time that is perfect for Milan to say, we are the place to come to. Because of all this uncertainty, London is not the place to be. Frankfurt is not the place to be because, excuse me for being racist, but they're German. Paris is not the place to be because they're French, and we love Italians. Okay, so that is what you need to say. That's why I've worked here for 15 years, because that's why I've worked here for 15 years. You know, the taxes are horrendous, and the bureaucracy is horrendous, but the weather is beautiful. The people are fantastic. It's a great place to do business. It's a great place. So you need to play to the strengths of Milan. Now, Frankfurt on day 1, so the 24th of June, had a website and a hotline running saying to British businesses in London, come to Frankfurt. So we, you, hopefully all of us, need to really push to get this up and running now, because Frankfurt is already doing it. So we need to articulate our position to British banks and financial institutions now to make sure that this happens, because otherwise they will go to Frankfurt. Yeah, Morgan Stanley has already said that they will send 1,000 of its workers already to Paris. You know, Paris is a nightmare in terms of social security contributions from companies, and Morgan Stanley have already said they're going to do it. So it costs, for instance, if you're on a banking salary of 300,000, in the UK, the total cost to the company is around 350,000. So you add 50,000 in social security contributions. If you're in Paris, you add another 170,000. And Morgan Stanley is saying that they're going to send people there. So if we can create a position that actually, in Milan, we've got tax benefits, we've got all of the other benefits that we've talked about today in place, we can be much more attractive than Paris, much more attractive than Frankfurt. So if you look at the attractiveness of London at the moment, that's what we should try and replicate here. So at the moment, London is the largest financial center in the EU. It's not something that happened overnight. It happened over a long period of time. Non-EU financial institutions come to London at the moment because they want, of course, access to the UK market, but also they want access to the European market. So we need to address the issue of passporting, or the UK needs to address the issue of passporting. But that won't be agreed for 2 years. If you can attract US banks, Chinese banks, et cetera, to come to Milan now, they will have the certainty that when, in 2 years' time, the UK has finally agreed a position with the EU. If we can do that now and give them the right to passport from Milan into Europe, including into the UK, that's the position that we should be aiming for now. You know, London at the moment is a very low tax jurisdiction, 20% corporation tax, going down to 17%, maybe even 15% in 2020. You know, if we can replicate that type of tax incentive for companies to come here, a tax-free zone, you know, incentives to come and to relocate from London, that will attract banks to come. You know, banks don't like giving their money away in tax, so we should play to that. You know, personnel in London are very easy to hire and fire. We should look at the employment legislation and try and replicate something similar. I don't know if that's possible. Frankfurt, for instance, has already announced that it will already implement English law employment contracts for relocating companies coming to Frankfurt. English law. So German law is not applicable to those employment contracts. You know, is that something that we can implement? Because if so, that's the sort of thing that we in Milan are competing against. The English court system, of course, is very quick and easy. It's always expensive because lawyers are expensive, even in Italy. English law is quick and easy. I'm not saying that we should replicate that here, but you know, Dubai, for instance, has a free trade zone. They've implemented English law with English courts, with English judges, so that disputes can be easily and quickly agreed. So it's something to think about. It's maybe not something that can be implemented quickly, but you know, these are all things that attract, in particular, US banks who want English language, they want certainty, and in particular, they want regulatory certainty as well. So we need to work with the Bank of Italy and Consob to make sure that it all works efficiently. So the relationship with Milan and London, you know, we have a great example of that already with the London Stock Exchange and the Borsa Italiana. That is the type of thing that we could be replicating here. You know, we have the British Chamber of Commerce. We've got the new president here, Sebastian Buca. We have the Italian Chamber of Commerce in London. These are all organizations that, you know, it might be a bit difficult to get the Brits to understand what you're trying to do. But at the end of the day, if it's not Frankfurt and it's not Paris, then my feeling is that Milan is a great alternative. So we should work together with these organizations to make sure that we implement something which is attractive to the banks. And putting in place a decent corporate tax structure, CGT, personal tax, social security charges, employment legislation, access to dispute resolution, and regulatory oversight. And also one of the biggest questions that any relocating employee will have coming from London, when he comes to Milan, he will be, or she will be an EU citizen, but after 2 years will no longer be an EU citizen. So you need to guarantee those rights, that ability to work, even after the UK is not a member of the European Union. But the most important thing is to move quickly, because Frankfurt are already out there, Paris is already out there, Dublin is Dublin, and Luxembourg is Luxembourg. Grazie.